a close personal friend of Jacob Markstrom's. Actually
Wow.
was with Markstrom last night. They had dinner. So we get right to the source with Jamie McLennan. Noodles, how we doing?
Not too bad. I mean, good timing. I come on and Marky appears to be heading out. So, and no, I've not had dinner with him ever before. So,
No.
I mean, as much as
Ever. Okay. Well,
You weren't selling him on Greater New York?
I
Give him
mean,
a pitch?
if he asked me, I would sell him on, direction of where the Flames are at right now compared to where New Jersey
He's
is
well aware.
potentially going. He's well aware. So listen, by all accounts, if the deal's made, obviously it's been tweeted out and all of that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, we're always going to judge the return, right? I heard you guys talking about the return. I would argue it's probably going to be a first rounder. There's somewhere probably in there. That seems to be the going currency for top players. And then the prospect, whether that's a guy on the live roster or a guy that is going to play. I'm sure Connie had dug in, whether that deal was available at the deadline or if the deal was available best kind of right now situation. Keep in mind, and this is what I always tell people, and I temper expectations because we're talking about it in Toronto. The player controls the player controls where he's going, right?
Yeah.
That's really.
So we just noted it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry, the deal just broke.
What is it? What is it?
So Darren Dreger has just tweeted that Markstrom to the Devils in return. Calgary gets their first round pick in 2025, which is next year's first, and 23-year-old defenseman Kevin Ball, who I believe was in part of the Taylor Hall swap as a prospect. So he's a big defenseman that's physical, that sort of is on the edges of their roster. So they get a first next year and a defenseman that probably should be able to step into their lineup this season.
It's funny. You mentioned Ball. I was thinking that, like, what is he, 23? I watched him. I think he played all the games last year. He's pretty solid. Like, that's pretty much your, Zadorov type of big monster guy. You've got some bite, good skater, all of that type of stuff. So I don't know if, what is it? So first rounder in 2025?
Next summer, not this summer. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that's the going rate. And the other thing, wasn't Markstrom, is he doing any bonuses or something like that? Like, I don't know.
No, there's 2 years left at 6. And I would, if there's no retention, that's a bit of a win for Calgary, because I knew that was a hang up we had talked about a ton back in February.
Yeah. I mean, $6 million off your books or something like that. At the end of the day, that's the going rate. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. This would be my question, and I know we've never probably get a straight answer out of Calgary. What were the other offers? Because if Markstrom, who controls the scenario going, if we can guess, have a crystal ball, who needs a goaltender, who wants a goaltender, what would Ottawa have offered? What would Toronto have offered? What would LA have offered, right? Like, we can do the what if game, but if Markstrom wasn't interested in going anywhere, I mean, I don't know if Calgary approached him to waive or if he had asked for a trade. I don't know the particulars of that as well.
There's that detail. Then there's also Flames ownership. Were they willing to eat anything? And if they were, was the pot sweeter, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing too, right? Like, until the actual meat of the deal trickles out, we can weigh in. I don't know. How do you guys feel? Like, Pinder, you're dialed into draft picks and all that.
I think it'd be really tough to get Jersey to give up number 10, given that this is a team that thinks they're very good and got let down this year. I think they're probably pretty sure their pick's going to be between 18 and 30 next year. So I can see why New Jersey wants it to be the 25 pick. From Calgary's perspective, you've got 2 picks in 26. You've got 2 this year, and you have 3 next year, one of which you'll have to send to Montreal. So they're loading up with more picks in the year that they have to send a first to the Habs for that Monahan swap. So I get it from a Devils perspective. If the Flames really like Ball and think this is a guy that maybe has a 4-5 ceiling, that's good work. If he's just around the edges 6-7, then I don't know that that's enough. But again, they'll know more about Ball than we do, certainly.
Right. I just thinking back to my notes and stuff like that, he was just solid defender. I don't know. I don't have comparables, but probably fall into the Soucy,
There's not a lot of offense there based on what we've seen so far. He
Right.
had 1 goal and 11 points in 82 games.
Who was
6'6", 230, and just
6'6".
emerged, right?
yeah?
Like,
Who's
this is a big
second
deal.
rounder?
Who's the mutant that plays in Dallas? Played in Dallas
back in the day.
Yeah,
or
Alexiak.
Jokic?
Yeah, Alexiak back in the day. Like I think these types of guys now we're seeing, big defensemen being valuable, right? Like that's the, if you can have a guy that can be a tree instead of a shrub on the back end and really be a good defender, they are at a premium. I don't know what the premium is. Again, Markstrom's scenario is if you're heading in a different direction with the Calgary Flames, which, you've got Wolf there, you've got Vladar at another year, like, so if they're retooling, you can shape some of that money that was earmarked for Markstrom into, kind of rebuilding, retooling your team, put the money somewhere else, either in free agency or if you have to sign guys internally.
Yeah, I don't know that we've been banging the drum that this team should be spending in free agency, but if you could weaponize that cap space another way, that's a move.
Well, you know what? Then I would spin it this way: if you're not done yet, if you're still going to maybe Connie uses some currency at the deadline or at the trade deadline, or at the draft, you can spin picks out onto players like the Balls, like guys like that who are 23, 20. Like this team needs to get younger and continue to grow, whether that's through draft picks or through young players that have. Now his Balls, what's his contract status?
1 more year, he will be an RFA with arbitration rights. He makes just over $1 million.
Yeah, it's a non-issue. He's under team control, and he's got no numbers that are going to scare you. The thing I wonder about is New Jersey had all those injuries on the back end. They lose Dougie Hamilton this year. This is a guy that played all 82 games just a year after playing half a season. Is he a top 6 NHL defenseman, or did he have to be? And that was part of the reason things fell apart in Jersey. The Flames obviously think he is one.
Right.
So, and look, if we were to tell you that there was a 6'6", 230-pound guy that took a little longer to develop, that would totally make sense. Because he's just arrived in his 22-year-old season does not mean that this guy isn't going to be a player in this league. But he's also been coveted in trade twice now. He's drafted by Arizona. They swap him in the Taylor Hall deal, and now he comes to Calgary from Jersey. It's his third organization. So clearly there's some tools you can dream on here.
Right. But again, unless they come through, then it's a guy who's bounced around a little bit. But, at that frame, you're right. Like Rhett can speak to it. You grow into it. If he ends up being, a 4 or 5, that's not a bad trade, but it might take him a couple of years to grow into his body and
he's
grow
going to
into
get a chance to play.
He absolutely will. Yeah. Like there's no question. Right now, Oliver Shillington is not signed. Their third highest paid defenseman is Daniil Miramanov, and Miramanov was an 8 with Vegas last year. They have all kinds of room to develop a guy and see what he looks like in minutes. What were you saying, Ryan?
I'm saying that he's in the top 4 in Calgary already. I mean,
yeah, by default. No, I think they'll add someone to free agency, but if he'll get full 5-6 minutes, if you're no sweat, even if they had a guy.
Yeah, and Shillington's interesting because. I think he's a guy that played himself into a top 4. It certainly has that type of ability, but I say this respectfully because we know he's had the challenges off the ice. Is there a level of trust when it comes to a business, when you just got to put your business hat on, not your emotional hat, your business hat on? Do you commit to a guy like that long-term, or do you keep him on the year to year and go, you've got to unfortunately prove it because we got to see where you're at?
Well, and again, knowing all this stuff, why is it not done if both sides are cordial with each other?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like somebody's obviously not happy, or this should be, we stood beside you and you worked your way through it. This is what a great story.
Yeah.
This should be done in my opinion. It's one of those things where it's like, when I think about Shillington, I'm going, what's the holdup? Like this should be an easy.
Well, it should be a layup, Brett. If Calgary goes, hey, you know what, we're going to stand by you, but we're not giving you a long-term deal just based on where you're at, then he should put his hand up and say, I'm fine with that. You stood by me while I was going through my struggles. Like, it should be 1-year deals until you get to that level where it's not a struggle. And I don't know if that's the case. Like that, I'm using the wrong verbiage here, because I'm sure he might struggle his whole life. But my point being is, from a business standpoint, if, you know, it looks like the Flames stood by him, or not looks, they did stand by him. He came back and played pretty solid. Like, it should be an easy one to extend a 1-year deal and kick the can down the road if he continued to grow as a player. And then you get into a long-term deal once you have that stability and you feel good about your game.
The first round pick's top 10 protected as well for the Devils, which
okay,
shouldn't be an issue. But yeah,
so we thought we were getting a top 10 pick for Markstrom.
That's
were
what I
hoping.
said when we came in. And I guess our gauge, we're not involved in these trade talks.
right.
So to know what top 10 protected means versus not protected, how much do you get for taking half of salary retention as opposed to not? It would seem like the one thing the Flames get here is they're not eating any salary, which
Right.
means there's potentially
It's
other ways to
all the
weaponize that space, right? It's not $3 million of dead money. They have a lot of space, though, would be the thing. I mean, let's be honest.
let's not write off a first rounder. That's another nice.
But yeah,
thing, right?
Ryan,
Picks
10
in 3
minutes. Okay,
years.
sorry, I'm jumping in here because pre-show it better be number.
Oh, it's
10.
not better. You're hoping. God, it'd be great if it was 10. Yeah, and I get it. You're this close. Jersey's like, no, we're not giving you 10. What's
Yeah.
that?
I would say that you're reading.
I think it's a little light. Yeah, I do. But again, like, if Ball ends up being an 8-year guy on the blue line, you win this thing. Like, it's just that's just the case. So,
Right.
the thing about a pick is, you know where number 10 is on the draft board. What we don't know about the player is what the hell he's going to do for the next ever. Is he a tweener,
Would
up
you,
and down? Is he a top 4? Is he a 5-6?
The other thing too
that,
is
that just makes it hard to grade. It's easy when you just know the pick slot. You're like, 10 overall. I know what that should be.
right. But the other thing too, guys, is, you know, respectfully to Ball, like, it's not as sexy, right? If it was a high scoring forward, if it was like you guys, I heard you guys before I came on talking about, you know, you look at prospects ratings and all that. Hey, let's look at LA, what they've got. Hey, let's look at New Jersey's top prospects. Would he be in there, or would he be farther down, or because he played last year? Like, that's the type of stuff where I understand where you're at, Pinder, where maybe it's a little light or not as sexy. But you're right. If he ends up having an 8-year career, 10-year career, and is a mainstay at a 4-5 or a 5-6 type of thing, then you've got what you needed out of it, and that pick ends up turning into something too. You get, like, there's a bunch of what ifs with these trades. I always say, like, New Jersey got the best player, like they did. That's ultimately, you know, what we're dealing with right now.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, you got cap flexibility. You got a pathway for the young goaltender to move forward in Wolf. You got a young defenseman that has upside, and, you know, like, there is some wins here. It just, is it enough? I think that'll be the question that people are going to ponder.
They were talking about. Conroy knows what the market is, and he took the deal. So it is what it is. It doesn't make damn.
Yep.
There is salary retention. Dreger's saying it's at least 30% that the Flames are keeping.
Wow.
And so 30 a third would be like, that's around $2 million, a little less. So, and again, that feels like you should be compensated for 2 years of retention of near $2 million. But again, until we know what Ball the player is, it's tough. And where that 25 pick falls, it's tough to grade this thing.
Right.
You'd prefer 10 at this point, but it doesn't mean this package can't be better.
I don't care. This is what it is, and Conroy does his deal, and but we were talking about Alexander Holtz.
Right.
Yeah, there's no Holtz. There's no Mercer.
Dawson Mercer's name.
No Simon Nemec on the back end.
Yeah,
No 10th overall.
Right.
Yeah,
It may end up being a good deal, and we were maybe way out to lunch. But
I don't think it's out to lunch to suggest you could ask for all those things, Dean, right? It's just that it has to be the situation where you've got the leverage to get what you want. Was this the only team Craig could negotiate with that Marcus said he would go to? Did Craig feel like he had to move him this summer and not be able to wait? You know, what other forces were there? We don't know.
That's the best point.
Anywhere could he get more? We don't even know.
That's the best point. Is you're right. You have no idea if Craig Conroy's hands were tied behind his back where the player, I'll give you a recent trade. Vladimir Tarasenko goes to Steve Stais, says, you want to trade me? I'm going to Florida. Okay. Like Florida knows it. So Florida, Billy Zito's not going to mop the floor with Stais, but he's like, okay, give you, what was it? A third and a fifth or a fifth or something. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't an overwhelming return, but it was good enough. It was fair market. If again, we don't know behind the curtain, but if it was communicated with the Calgary Flames that, there's a narrow approach here and we want Team X, then you're literally, and Team X knows it. Well, they're not going to move off of the names that you were just throwing out, the Mercers and the Holtz and Nemec, and they're going to hold tight, but they're playing a game of chicken, because if Markstrom decides I'll broaden my approach and maybe I do want LA, maybe I do want Toronto or something else, then it looks a lot different as far as the return, because you've got a competition. Now you've got a marketplace.
What's this do for Jersey?
They're a damn good team now, because if Hamilton comes back healthy, you got I think Hamilton, we all know Dougie very well, and he's got his warts, but he's a hell of a player too. And keep in mind, Jack Hughes started like a rocket ship last year, and then that injury really derailed his season. Got it back near the end, but it wasn't good enough. That team is pretty damn close. Like, the first year, drawing a blank, Timo Meyer coming over on that big deal. Took him a while to settle in. But you've got the framework of some pretty damn good players. The one thing that Jersey has been missing is people to stop pucks. They got the guy. They got the best goaltender available. I don't know what's going. Jacob it's the perfect land, because they got two young kids that are growing, and Markstrom's deal isn't 6 years; it's 2. So there's some runway for kids to develop, and you've got the goalie right now. I think it's a fantastic deal for Jersey. It really improves what they look like, because I don't know how many times I would look at Travis Green or Lindy Ruff and go, God, they got a hell of a team. They can't get a save. Like, couldn't get a save last year. Oh
no, it much like it was with Dallas for Tanev. This feels like a very good trade for them to make. It's not that they gave up nothing. They gave up a first, but not this year, because they know that it's 10. And next year, they know it's going to be 11 or worse, because it's protected. Right. They get a little bit of salary help, which leaves them open if they get close to a deadline. I don't know what the New Jersey salary situation is. Yeah. And they did. Yeah. And Kevin Ball is probably, if not expendable, he's not top of the list for them on the blue line. I don't think their top 4 is going to be hurting or have a major hole now that he's gone. It doesn't mean that this is the Calgary has lost this deal. I would, like you say, I would love to know. We know Markstrom was sour last year with all the trade talk. He's getting traded to New Jersey, then it doesn't happen.
Right.
And you wonder look, I said I'd go to New Jersey, I'll go to New Jersey. If Conroy has one team, maybe 2 teams, we don't know where because we've thrown out, LA could use some goaltending. Like you had said, how far is Sweden to LA? Maybe being closer to home matters to him. Who knows?
New York, let's go.
How many teams did Conroy realistically have to deal with here? And if you're Fitzgerald, I want the goalie, but I also know that I'm in the driver's seat as far as any other team, because this is where this guy's going.
And you know what, to add on to that, Dean, you have to know that probably Tommy Fitz has been in touch with Boston and said, what's Allmark's situation on his wave, right? And does that include, will Allmark waive, but does that come with an extension? Or what do we have to do with that? Ottawa is probably pounding the pavement going, what do we, we're going to give up something to get a goaltender. Now, Korpisalo, I think they're going to forge ahead, but they might go into a tandem situation where Allmark might be sexy enough that they trade, one of their good pieces for Allmark that comes with an extension. I know that sounds crazy, but if they end up going 10 million in net, they on a tandem situation, you've got a little bit of flexibility on some salary stuff. Maybe Josh Norris, I don't know what his situation is, but I think you look at these teams, I'm coming back to where if it was just Markstrom going, I want to go to Jersey and nowhere else, then you're looking at all the other teams that might be in on this, and we're not going there, then there's nothing you can do. I mean, that's the goaltender's right.
Your signal's a little in and out, but I wanted to get to what we know now. It seems this is Dustin Wolf. He's got the head start on being the number one here. Obviously, your thoughts on Wolf and his readiness to be the number one?
I'm leaving the car. I'm going to get a better signal for you.
Right.
Pisses me off that I don't have a good signal because I've been sitting in my car at the grocery store. And I'm going up here. They've got a better signal.
You're a real person. Yeah, it sounds great.
I'm pissed off now because I thought I had some gold and you guys are just sitting there staring at me.
We had you right till the end.
Okay, hold on. Now I've walked into a construction zone. I'm going back down. This gives a great pathway to Dustin Wolf because there's nobody in front of him now. He's the guy. Dan Vladar is going to be there as a safety blanket.
When he's healthy.
You're right. But I think, and if they have to sign somebody, if Vladar can't be healthy and you maybe sign a 3, the Martin Jones signing that Tree had last year, somebody like that, then you look at it and go, we're going to give a pathway for Dustin Wolf, and we're going to see what he is as a goalie. Is he a 50-game starter? Can he be a 60-game starter? And again, if there's some bumps in the road, you've got Vladar and or the other goaltender that they potentially have as a 3 to give him some nights off. So what I think it does, it just you got to figure out what Wolf is at the NHL level. He's an NHL goaltender, but as we all make it to the NHL sorts you out. So what does that mean? Are you a 40-game starter? Are you 50? Are you 60? Are you a superstar? All of that. He has the makings of and the framework of being the hell of a goaltender. Now, really, he's got a pathway to sort it out.
Yeah. Interestingly, like if you were going to know you had to throw, I don't want horrible cliche, Wolf to the Wolves next year defensively before the Markstrom trade, would we be surprised that they're going to go add a huge hulking defenseman whose strengths are the penalty kill and shot suppression in his own end? Because that's the card on Ball. You're not going to get offense, but it's a guy that's going to help the Flames in their own zone. I wouldn't be surprised if they had another guy like this in free agency, because I don't think they're going to be good, but they don't want to have Dustin Wolf facing 45 shots a night and 6 breakaways.
You can't have the San Jose situation. You cannot have that where Mackenzie Blackwood, all this guy knows is just getting caved in every night. And he's a good goaltender, but you wouldn't know it from the numbers other than when you look at the game stolen that he had. Calgary's a better team than that. They won't like Kadri, Coleman, guys like that. They're Backlund. They're not going to allow the team to be a tire fire. But you're right. Like you can't have a complete turnover where it's all kids and Wolf gets hung out to dry and his progression gets hurt because he has a bunch of losses and ugly losses to your point where he's getting 6 breakaways and 20 high danger chances against the night. That'll wear him down and it'll actually hurt his development. So I think Connie will be methodical with the people that he adds, but you'll add it with a purpose. And the purpose is to be younger and to develop and have a younger core to develop together.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.